Hello, welcome to Introduction to Microsoft Azure video. In this video, we're going to talk about basic concepts of cloud computing, then we will talk about Windows Azure, and finally we're going to do a very short comparison between AWS from Amazon with Microsoft Azure. So one main question, why using the cloud? Let's discuss the top benefits of cloud computing. Cloud computing is a big shift from the traditional way businesses think about IT resources. Here on this slide, we have 7 of the most important benefits that cloud computing brings to the organizations. Starting with cost, cloud computing eliminates the capital expense of buying hardware and software and setting up and running on-site data centers, the racks of servers, the round-the-clock electricity for power and cooling, the IT experts for managing the infrastructure, and it adds up fast. It also provides the speed advantage. Most cloud computing services are provided self-service and on demand. So, even vast amount of computing resources can be provisioned in a matter of minutes. Typically, with just a few mouse clicks, you're going to have access to all the resources you need. This gives businesses a lot of flexibility and takes the pressure of capacity off their planning. Cloud also provides global scale. The benefits of cloud computing services include the ability to scale elastically. In cloud speak, that means delivering the right amount of IT resources right when it's needed and from the right geographical location. Productivity. On-site data centers typically require a lot of racking and stacking hardware setup, software patching, and even more services needed from IT management or IT experts. Cloud computing removes the need for many of these tasks, so IT teams can spend time on achieving more important business goals and the designs. The biggest cloud computing service run on a worldwide network of secure data centers, which are regularly upgraded to the latest generation of fast and efficient computing hardware. This offers several benefits over a single corporate data center, including reduced network latency for applications and greater economies for scale, which finally is going to bring the performance above the ordinary on-site IT service. It also provides security. Many cloud providers offer a broad set of policies, technologies, and controls that strengthen your security and make sure your network is not breachable. Those services help protecting your data, applications, and infrastructure from any potential threat. Not all the clouds are the same, and not one type of cloud computing is right for everyone. Several different models, types, and services have evolved to help offer the right solution for your needs. Types of cloud deployments are public, private, and hybrid. First, you need to determine the type of the cloud deployment or cloud computing architecture that your cloud services will be implemented on. There are 3 different ways to deploy cloud services on a public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Public clouds are owned and operated by a third-party cloud service provider, such as Microsoft or Amazon, which deliver their computing resources like servers and storage over the internet. Microsoft Azure is an example of public cloud. With the public cloud, all hardware, software, and other supporting infrastructure is owned and managed by the cloud provider. You access these services and manage your account using a web browser or a PowerShell. A private cloud refers to cloud computing resources used exclusively by a single business or organization. A private cloud can be physically located on company's on-site data center. Some companies also pay third-party service providers to host their private cloud. A private cloud is one in which the services and infrastructure are maintained on a private network. Hybrid clouds combine public and private clouds, bound together by technology that allows data and application to be shared between them. By allowing data and applications to move between private and public clouds, a hybrid cloud gives your business greater flexibility, more deployment options, and help optimize your existing infrastructure, security, and compliance. Let's talk about the possible cloud service models. Type of cloud service models that are generally known are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. There are also some packages that sometimes are being referred to as the cloud service models, such as database as a service, identity as a service, or disaster recovery as a service, which at the end of the day, those packages are a combination of one of the three packages shown here above. Infrastructure as a service is the most basic category of cloud computing service. With infrastructure as a service, you rent IT infrastructure, i.e., servers and virtual machines, storages, networks, operating systems, from a cloud provider on a pay as you go basis. And the platform as a service, you receive services that supply an on demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing software applications. Platform as a service is designed to make it easier for developers to quickly create web or mobile apps without worrying about setting up or managing the underlying infrastructure of servers, storage network, and database needed for that specific project or development. Overlapping with platform as a service, there is something called serverless computing, which focuses on building up functionality without spending time continually managing the servers and infrastructures required to do so. The cloud provider handles the setup, capacity planning, and server management for you. Serverless architectures are highly scalable and event driven. They only use resources when a specific function or trigger occurs. And this way, they save you a lot of time, effort, maintenance, and investment on the capital. Software as a service is a method for delivering software applications over the internet, on demand, and typically on a subscription basis. With software as a service, cloud providers host and manage the software applications and underlying infrastructure, and handle any maintenance like software upgrades and security patching. Users connect to the application over the internet, usually with a web browser, on their phone, tablet, PC, or you name it. You're probably using cloud computing right now. Even if you don't realize it, if you can use an online service to send email, edit documents, watch movies, watch TV, listen to music, play games, or even store pictures and other files, it's likely that cloud computing is making it all possible behind the scenes. The first cloud computing services are barely a decade old, but already a variety of organizations, from tiny startups to global corporations, government agencies, nonprofits, and more, are embracing the technology for all sorts of reasons. Here in this slide, we see a few examples of what's possible today with the cloud services from a cloud provider. Create new apps and services. Quickly build, deploy, and scale applications, web, mobile, API, whatever, on any platform while accessing the resources you need to help meet performance, security, and compliance requirements. We can also test and build applications. Reduce application development cost and time by using cloud infrastructure that can easily be scaled up or down. You can store, backup, and recover data. You can protect your data more cost efficiently and at massive scale by transferring your data over to the internet, to the cloud, to an offsite cloud server location that is accessible and secure. You can access that location from any device and still keep it safe and sound. You also can unify your data across teams, divisions, and locations in the cloud. Then use cloud services such as machine learning and artificial intelligence to uncover insights for more informed decisions and do effective analysis of data. You can stream audio and video, which I'm pretty sure most of us are doing that nowadays a lot. You can connect your audience anywhere, anytime, on any device with high definition video and audio with global distribution. Embed intelligence is there. You can use intelligent modules to help engage customers and provide valuable insights from the data that you can capture. You can also deliver software on demand. It is also known as software as a service, SaaS, or SaaS, on demand software that lets you offer the latest software versions and updates around the clock. Altogether, these are just some samples and examples of how cloud could be used. It's not necessarily all the usages. So be aware that as the technology is evolving day by day, new startups and new entities come up with the new ideas and usages of the cloud. Because of the resources available to developers and to the users, because of that high level of security, scalability, and possibilities, the cloud computing usages are limitless. Anything that you can do in the computer world these days could be done through cloud computing, but better, more efficient, cheaper, and actually more fun. So, considering all these good characteristics of the cloud, one may question, are all the companies out there on the cloud? The answer is no. There is something called resisting the cloud, which stops a lot of companies to move to the cloud environment and take advantage of all these benefits that we already discussed. Some of the reasons for these companies not to move to the cloud are: to begin with, some companies with previous large investments in locally managed ITs hesitate to move to the cloud. Considering the amount of money that they already have capitalized on purchasing the IT infrastructure that they already have, and all the planning for those purchases has been based on depreciation, getting that money back, getting some benefit over that money, now becomes a hurdle and a chain for them to be able to actually move to the cloud environment. Some enterprises have a very complex, heterogeneous IT landscape. That makes it even more difficult. The migration itself is a very complicated task for such entities, and of course stops them from moving towards the cloud computing. The other stopper is the reliability of hosting providers. Some of the smaller hosting providers actually have not proven to have enough reliability for the cloud services. One thing to consider is when you move to the cloud computing infrastructure to get your services, you will be at the mercy of your service provider. So if the service provider cannot provide enough reliability, then your business is doomed. And considering the smaller services don't have enough resources or may possibly have not invested enough to have a reliable network, you can imagine how a business owner would be scared of moving to them. There are some business politics involved too. For example, think about it. Hypothetically, if you're Apple, would you go ahead and get cloud services from Microsoft or Google? And vice versa. There's sometimes real politics involved. There's some information that you don't want to be on the cloud, information that you don't know where they're going to be physically stored. Later down the path, we're going to discuss the distribution of Microsoft Azure service providing centers throughout the globe. And you will see some of the information you upload may be residing in a remote location in China, Russia, Iran, or any location in the world. There are some concerns coming with this type of distributed file system. That sometimes stops companies from moving towards the cloud. There are some special compliance requirements when the laws come to this game, regulations come to the play, and you need to store information in a very specific way to be in compliance with, let's say, HIPAA and other compliances like that. Then you may not be able to move to the cloud. Microsoft Azure claims to be able to address these different concerns about existing IT investment, integration challenges, reliability, control, security, and compliance so that the businesses can actually take advantage of the benefits of scale, speed, and cost saving that the cloud computing can provide. For the rest of this video, we're going to be focused on introduction to Windows Azure. We will talk about some specifications and characteristics of Windows Azure, and then finally we're going to go ahead and compare Azure with the services that Amazon AWS provides. Microsoft has a vision for cloud computing. And in Microsoft vision, there are three major pillars for how a cloud should be. Those are Microsoft Windows Server, Microsoft System Center, and Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure itself is an open and flexible cloud platform for building, deploying, and managing applications and workloads hosted on a global network of Microsoft managed data centers. Remember that the underlying architecture that is running Microsoft Azure is basically Microsoft Windows Server, as of now, Microsoft Windows Server 2016 data center. So all of those data centers are visualized into a shell called Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Windows Server 2016 is a proven enterprise class platform that forms the foundations for building cloud solutions and already has one of the biggest market shares in enterprise computing services. Next is Microsoft System Center, which is an integrated platform that provides a common management experience across private, hosted, and public clouds. All these three together give you the Microsoft Cloud with all the capabilities that we will be discussing now. So at the end of the day, Microsoft Azure is an ever-expanding set of cloud services to help your organization meet your business challenges. It's the freedom to build, manage, and deploy any application, any size, on a massive global network that uses your favorite tools, whatever you feel more comfortable with. At the end of the day, One that uses Microsoft Azure doesn't need to know anything about the underlying infrastructure. And just understanding how to work with the Azure interface itself is going to turn you to be a Microsoft Azure administrator. Microsoft Azure can be anything that you want it to be. Yes, anything that you want it to be. Microsoft Azure is the Microsoft's cloud platform comprised of compute services, data services, application services, and networking services. Remember that categorizations on what is included and what is not may vary depending on the source that you're looking at, but at the end of the day, all the services that Microsoft Azure provides could be categorized under one of these four categories. Windows Azure lets you build, deploy, and manage solutions for almost any purpose you can imagine. So let's talk a little bit about compute services. Compute services provide the processing power required for cloud applications to be able to run and scale. Remember, when you run an application, this application uses resources such as CPU or central processing unit power, GPU or graphical processing unit, RAM, your memory, your storage. It needs hard drive. It needs storage space, no matter which type of physical storages you need. And all of these resources, they vary when the output and throughput of that application is going to be different. Consider when you have an application, a game, that only 5 players play with it, think about the amount of resources this application needs, and then multiply the number of gamers by 10. So you're going to need 10 times the resources. So the solution is either go out, get new hardware, bring it in, install it, and let it be connected to the application and provide the computing power that application needs. Or when you are on the cloud, when you are on Microsoft Azure, it automatically assigns the needed resources to that application. How it happens is it happens through virtual machines. You can have different type of virtual machines installed in Microsoft Azure, such as Linux, Windows, and so on. Websites. Microsoft Azure hosts different websites and provides the computing power to those websites. Think about the traffic that goes to a website in a day that is the business is very slow, or just on the Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. Think about the difference between the processing power needed. And Azure as an underlying infrastructure helps websites to be able to handle the throughput that they need to provide for users. Cloud services. Different type of services like location services and so are also provided under the compute services. Then we have the mobile services. Those are also provided under the compute services. There are some less used terms over here like the remote app, Azure Container Services, and Service Fabric, which actually are either a combination or just another name for the above four services that we listed here. Down the road, when we are talking about every single one of these subjects individually, we will talk more and walk you through the other naming schemas that are available out there in the business. Windows Azure Data Services provide different ways of storing, managing, safeguarding, analyzing, and reporting business data. Windows Azure currently offers 5 different services. So, data management, to be the first, this service lets you store your business data in SQL databases, either with dedicated Microsoft SQL Server virtual machines using Windows Azure SQL database, or using NoSQL table via REST, or even using blob storage. It does help you with business analytics. This service enables ease of discovery and data enrichment using Microsoft SQL Server reporting and analysis services, or Microsoft SharePoint server running in a virtual machine, Windows Azure SQL reporting, or even the Windows Azure Marketplace applications that are in there. So you can also use HD Insight or Hadoop implementation for big data. So the HD Insight itself is a Microsoft Hadoop-based service, which brings a 100% Apache Hadoop solution to the cloud. Cache, this service provides a distributed caching solution that can help speed up your cloud-based application and reduce database loads. You have the backup services under the data storage services, which actually this service helps you protect your server data offsite by using automated and manual backups to Windows Azure. And finally, the Recovery Manager, which Windows Azure Hyper-V Recovery Manager helps you protect business critical services by coordinating the replication and recovery of System Center 2016 private cloud at a secondary location. So then there are the app services. So Windows Azure App Services provide with ways of enriching the performance, security, discoverability, and integration of cloud apps that are running under the Windows Azure. So Windows Azure currently offers 7 different app services. Let's talk about mobile services first. This service allows you to build workflows for the creation, management, and distribution of media using Windows Azure Public Cloud. Then there is the messaging service, which consists of 2 services, Windows Azure Service Bus and Windows Azure Queue, that allow you to keep your apps connected across your private cloud environment and the Windows Azure public cloud. Then you have the notification hubs, which this service provides a highly scalable cross-platform to push notification infrastructure for applications running on mobile devices. You have the Beanstalk services, which this service provides business to business and enterprise application integrated capabilities for delivering cloud and hybrid integration solutions. Active Directory services, which provides you with an identity management and access control capabilities for your cloud applications. And finally, the multi-factor authentication, which the service provides an extra layer of authentication in addition to the user's account credentials in order to better secure access for both on-premises and off-premises cloud application. So the other service that Windows Azure provides are networking services. Azure provides different options for how Windows Azure applications can be delivered to users and data centers. So you can either go through virtual network, create as many virtual networks as you want in the Azure, and subsegment and subdivide your users and resources amongst those. Or you can go with a traffic manager, which basically decides how to reroute the traffic, which could be done either through implementation of a virtual network and distribute the load amongst the virtual networks, or using a traffic manager, which is going to decide which resource is going to receive what type and how much of the traffic, through either doing it for achieving the best performance or doing it in a round robin fashion, or using an active passive failover configuration, whichever actually suits the best for the situation of the case. So as we discussed so far, there are multiple ways of categorizing the services that Windows Azure provides. And as you can see in this slide, Windows Azure Platform can be categorized based on different services that users can draw from this. At the top are the various execution models, namely the different technologies that can be used to execute applications running in the Windows Azure Cloud. The execution models correspond to the four Windows Azure compute services of virtual machines, websites, cloud services, and mobile services. At the bottom are the language specific software development kits or SDKs, which you can use for building, deploying, and managing applications that can run on Windows Azure. The SDKs that are currently supported include ones for .NET, Java, PHP, Node.JavaScript, Ruby, and Python. There is also General Windows Azure SDK that provides basic support for any programming language, for example, C++, the honor and glory of developers. The latest version 2.1 of the Windows Azure SDK for .NET includes SDKs, basic tools, and extended tools for Microsoft Visual Studio 2016 SP1, Visual Studio 2012, 10, and previous versions, and Visual Studio 2013 preview. So there are more informations if you're interested in development. I refer you back to Microsoft documentation website as it is listed under the resources, and look for more information over there about what type of languages with what type of packages are going to be compatible. Microsoft Windows Azure will be always open, flexible, managed by Microsoft, and compatible. These four characteristics or properties of Microsoft Azure are actually what make Azure a very strong tool to help businesses develop solutions for their own problems. So Windows Azure provides a set of cloud services that allow you to build and deploy cloud-based applications using almost any programming language, framework, or tool as we discussed. The openness makes it possible for any developer to work for your project, for any type of legacy tool that you have to fit into your project, and make it possible to be a good fit for any type of business. It is flexible. Windows Azure provides a wide range of cloud services that can let you do everything from hosting your own company's website to running a big SQL or NoSQL database in the cloud. It also includes different features that can help deliver high performance and low latency for cloud based applications. This means that being flexible with the Azure, you don't need to be worried about what is needed for that application. It can scale up, scale down, it can fit into it. It is Microsoft managed, so Windows Azure services are currently hosted in several data centers spread across the United States, Europe, and Asia. These data centers are managed by Microsoft and provide expert global support on a 24/7, 365 basis. Wherever you are, Microsoft finds a good location to connect you to, whether for drawing the resources from to have a better performance based on the proximity, or to draw help and support from. It's compatible. Cloud applications running on Windows Azure can easily be integrated with on-premises IT environment that utilize the Microsoft Windows Server platform. And as you know, most of the enterprises nowadays are using Microsoft Server as their enterprise platform, and therefore they can easily take advantage of this compatibility and have less headache in implementing what Azure is about. In addition to the Microsoft managed data centers where Windows Azure runs, Windows Azure also has a content delivery network or CDN currently located at 24 different sites in the United States, Europe, Asia, Australia, and South America. This CDN consists of a geographically distributed system of servers that enables Windows Azure to deliver high bandwidth content for performance sensitive customers by caching data, image, pictures, and video of Windows Azure compute instances. There are two ways as of now actually to access the Azure portals. Microsoft has started with manage.windowsazure.com as the original web portal of the Azure, and then they announced that the new portal is going to be portal.azure.com. So as of now, both are working, but very soon this guy is going to be just a redirect to the portal.azure.com since it has been out there for a long time now. So throughout this course, as a reference to the portal that we talk about, we're going to go to portal.azure.com. However, remember, in order to work with Windows Azure, you're not just limited to the portal itself, but also you can use the PowerShell and or the Cloud Shell of Microsoft in order to gain access actually to the portal. So Windows Azure, as of today that I'm recording this video, is spread over 54 regions and 140 countries. Basically, the areas are known as Azure Regions and are placed at a distance of about at least 300 miles from each other in case there is a natural disaster that would affect more than one region at a time. We still have other Azure locations open and available over there. Very soon, I'm going to show you how you can see the updated map that you are looking at right now. Major target industries of Azure are infrastructure industries, mobile industries. Verizon is already one of those. Industry, media, integration, identity and access management, big data, development and test, storage, backup, and recovery or data management. As you can see, it's a wide range of information technology and non-information technology clientele that Microsoft Azure is already touching. The thing is, this is not a definitive list of all the industries that Azure is touching as of now. Multiple different new industries are joining every day. So this is just for you to have an idea about how Microsoft Azure is widespread around the industries. Now we get to the nice point of taking a look at why Azure and not AWS. Before we start this, I have to mention both of the major platforms as of today, Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, are strong enough to handle all the needs of the users. Both are advancing day by day. As I mentioned, this industry is not even 10 years old, so everything is changing pretty quick, pretty fast, and sometimes those changes are very drastic. So the comparison as of today is only valid for a limited time, and it may change over time as the technology changes and these two companies change the way that they are providing their cloud hosting services. Anyway, so only Azure offers very nice pricing advantages. Basically, what Azure does is, first of all, Azure lets you save on the existing licenses. Let's say for now you do have a license for Microsoft Server 2016 data center. When you want to create an online virtual machine, guess what? You can use the license you have. And Microsoft is not going to charge you for that virtual machine. So that virtual machine basically goes free for you. This is something that you don't get on the AWS side of the aisle. Also, you're going to get free extended security updates on all the licenses and every single virtual machine that you generate within the Azure. AWS, as of today, is not providing those, and that really makes sense because Microsoft actually owns the licensing for those applications, and they respect their own licenses, while Amazon does not have no operating system or data center or web services, web application that is already created and given to you. More than 95% of Fortune 500 companies use Azure. That is the clientele that Microsoft brags about. And remember one thing, Microsoft has been very successful in penetrating to those companies because of the fact that their legacy systems were all almost Microsoft. And for them, it was very easy to move into another product of the Microsoft with the minimum amount of training and minimum amount of need. However, Amazon AWS has also penetrated very well in the market. And I personally think, considering the fact that they don't have any operating system themselves, they have done a good job in kind of like following Microsoft in a close course. Microsoft has been there for 30 plus years, and they have been in the business of servers for as much, while Amazon doesn't have that experience. Microsoft has 68,000 plus partners and 700 plus certifications of administration, associate, MCSE, and all those, which means there are a lot of people who already are trained on Microsoft, and they only need to transfer their knowledges to Azure. They only need to take AZ100 and AZ102 in order to become an administrator in Azure, while other people who want to go to AWS, they basically are not bringing anything to transfer in, which is going to make that base smaller than what Microsoft has. So if you look at the price comparison, for example, if you look at the server virtual machines, look at what we have here. This blue line is actually showing how much Azure is going to charge you, and this orange line is how much AWS is going to charge you for the same product, which in this case is Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2. Because of what? Because you are taking the Azure hybrid benefit savings because you already have the license, and also you get the extended security update saving that for both of those, AWS is charging you. And let's look at what's being compared here between Azure and AWS. One D2 version 3 Windows Server VM against one M5 large Windows Server VM. So I actually are getting a better Windows over there, a better version and more complete version of the server. So I'm not going to go through the details, but you can find these charts online on both Microsoft and Amazon websites and come up with the final decision yourselves. Here is another comparison for the server platform. And as you can see, again, Microsoft is kind of ahead. And this is where you use SQL as a server platform. And if you use SQL as an infrastructure, you see you still have as much savings. So basically, this price difference is what brings Microsoft on the top of your purchase list as of today. So without any further ado, let's go online, take a look at how the interface looks like, just basically wrap it up through seeing the animal in action and come back. Okay, so as I mentioned, Microsoft Portal is located at portal.azure.com, where you can actually manage your Microsoft Azure account. Microsoft gives out a free account for an entire year and $200 free credit for the first month. So this is how the homepage of your Azure look like. As you can see, I can look at my virtual machine, storage accounts, app services, SQL database instances, Azure databases, and so on, so on, so on. If you go to the dashboard, you can see the services that you already have in place. For example, I have a bunch of virtual machines and network interfaces and everything in place. We're going to discuss how to create these in near future. And don't worry if something looks odd to you. I'm just trying to give you a taste of how Microsoft Azure interface looks like. As you can see, I have a server here with a public IP address and everything installed in it. I can easily start the server. Of course, as soon as I start the server, Microsoft is going to charge me for the time that my server is up and running. And rather than that, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. So the other online resource that's worth taking a look at is azure.microsoft.com, which is the main page for Azure. As you can see here, and we still have 54 Azure regions, so you can see the latest update of where the Azure centers are. So you have the available regions, which are blue circled. The dash circles or data circles are the announced regions. And finally, the availability zones are dotted with red, which you can see we have some over here in US and some over there in Europe. There is one in the Southeast Asia and nothing else in the Eastern Hemisphere. So pretty much that's where you can get all the information about Microsoft Azure, an overview on what is Azure, security, and all those. And Microsoft has actually a very good set of documentation set for Azure itself, which are extremely useful for the people who want to read more, who want to learn more, and who want to go faster paced and get to the bottom of it. And that is pretty much it for the first video of these Microsoft Azure series. So today in this video, what we did was we started with the concepts of cloud computing. We talked about why different businesses either adopt or scare from getting into the cloud computing. Then we opened up Microsoft Azure, talked about the details of it. We said what type of services are there, what can Azure do, and then we talked about how it is comparing to AWS, and we finally took a look at the interface, and that was pretty much all what we covered in this video. If you have any questions or any concerns, anything that you need us to help you with, please do not hesitate to email me. And that concludes this video.